All right, Randy Neal in tonight. Team White. Sean Gary ready to ride. Me too. Unfortunately, the snow is outside and it's not happening. Team White Trash, Texas. There you go. Texas in the house. Great show coming up tonight. Just 3.5 minutes. We're going live with another episode of Motorcycle Cannonball Chronicles. What's up from Tucson? Sean, thanks for checking in with us tonight. Thanks to everybody out there watching us from the Chopper Town family, everyone from Cycle Source Magazine, Source Media. Walt Lumpkin in the house. Good to see you here, Walt. 3 minutes, just 3 minutes. Make sure you hit the like and share button so you can help us spread this around. If you're into old bikes and great stories, this is going to be a killer hour for you. Kick back and relax and get ready for Motorcycle Cannonball Chronicles. Just 3 minutes. All right, John Bartman, rider number 60, in with us tonight. Nancy Weems, good to see you here. Big D checking in from Marengo. Nice full house for the show tonight. Mike Jensen, number 16, Council Bluffs, Iowa. David Crum joining us from North New Jersey. Chris Johnson, Bradyville, Tennessee. Must be a great time of year to visit Tennessee. Tom Dean in from Canada. Just a minute away. Marjorie Kleiman checking in from Retro Cycle's new location. That's right. Brand new digs for Retro Cycle. Sundap, number 96, Chase Rider dropping in. Good to see you, Richard Campbell. Newport Richie, Florida. On my way to Florida. Leaving tomorrow. Bobby from Flagler, good to see you. Alex Mather from Virginia. Adam Croft, what's up, man? 32 seconds left. 32 seconds, we're going live with Cannonball Chronicles. That means it's time to get this one out of the garage and up onto the road and get ready to start another killer episode of the Motorcycle Cannonball Chronicles. Here we go.
Oh, hey! You guys weren't supposed to see that. That's my pre-routine ritual. I'm on the pony. Anyway, what's happening? I'm Jason Sims. I'm your host tonight, along with my beautiful wife here, Leanne Sims. Been a few weeks since she's been on. Super excited to have her back. So we can you believe we're into December already?
No.
I can't either.
Everyone has their Christmas stuff up, and it still feels like summer here.
It does,
except for today.
It was a little cold today. It was only like 67 degrees.
That's why I'm on, is because it was cold and I had to stay inside and I'm bored.
Oh, yeah.
So here I am.
Anyway, we're into December. We're back. It's Wednesday night again. Cannonball Chronicles. We had a couple week break. Just took last week off because of Thanksgiving. Hopefully all you guys out there had a great holiday with your family. Hopefully you weren't with too much of your family and got in trouble. Anyway, let's bring on our co-host, Mr. Robbie. Robbie, what's happening, man? I didn't got to talk to you for like 2 weeks now.
Howdy, everybody. How's everyone doing? Yeah, well, you don't call, you don't write. I thought I did something wrong. I must have said something. Anyway, when you came on, did you say you were riding your pony or your big phony?
I'm riding that pony.
He doesn't have.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you were a big phony.
No, I wasn't.
I'm having some issues with my internet. I'm having some issues with my internet on this end tonight, so there's a little lag here from my end, just for everybody watching out there. But things are good. Things are good. We're in December. We're turning the corner. We'll go into next year, and we're going to have the chase. We're going to have the cannonball. Everything will be great.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Been so long since we've got to see a lot of our friends, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Definitely way too long. Looking forward to seeing everybody again. We got a great guest tonight. Multiple year participant in the Cannonball. So there should be some really good stories coming out of our guest.
yeah, absolutely. I'm anxious to get into some of the questions with him and just hear some of his story.
Yeah. Well, who is it?
I think we should keep it a secret.
Are you guys making out down there? How's the new house?
Oh, it's great. It's great. We love it. Weather's
Yeah, we're going to keep it a secret.
No, we love it. We love it.
We've been busy unpacking.
So is that picture the only thing you've hung up yet?
Well, we've got a few other things.
No,
But I love this one.
the house is unpacked. It's the shop that's the problem. So, I mean, I'm not pushing him because we just moved here, but he's working on it.
Hey, all you guys out there know that, when you're in your shop and you're going through your parts and you're looking at your motorcycles and all your cool stuff, it's hard to get anything freaking done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tell
it
me
is.
about
It's
it.
finding new toys all the time. Oh, I forgot I had that.
Yep.
Yeah, putting on all your costumes at once.
It's been fun. It's been fun. Rob knows all about it. He's been going through it.
Oh yeah.
It's good to see you in your new shop.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that this internet thing is not a problem here for what's going on, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Nah, there's just a teeny little delay on your part, but we'll get through it.
Yep.
Hey, so you know what? We got something pretty freaking exciting. So just this last Wednesday or Thursday, we launched the new Cannonball store at www.cannonballstore.com, which you can also find on our regular page, motorcyclecannonball.com. But we released a lot of new products on there. A lot of really cool stuff. Got a bunch of new T-shirts, non-dated stuff. Getting ready to drop some new 2021 event merchandise on there. One of the things that I've been working on for a long time is what we just scrolled by there, the the wool jerseys. So I've been working on these for a couple of years. We finally got some in stock. I'm wearing one here tonight. Love the things. These are taken off after authentic jerseys back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. We've paid a lot of attention to detail, made it and found the best manufacturers. And so here we're bringing them to you now after quite a while. It's taken us quite a while to get samples. And
I know. I think people underestimate the work it takes for merchandise. You're thinking, oh, let's get some sweaters. Let's get some T-shirts. That's not how it works.
That's for sure.
And a ton of work on these, and they're pretty darn cool.
They are.
And it feels good.
It does.
It looks pretty good on you.
Everything looks good on me.
Okay.
But I want to show you guys some really cool things here that we actually have here in person, because sometimes it's hard to see it online. But we'll just kind of go through them. We got new hats. Boom. There's a style. Kind of flip through them here real quick. Boom.
That one's gray.
This one's red and black. Look at that. I love that.
Pretty sharp.
Sharp. Love this one. Black on black mesh. This one's cool. Your red, white, and blue.
Is that the one you've already worn out?
No.
Oh, he's already worn out one.
So that's some new hats we got. We got a lot more stuff coming online. Here's a couple of the different sweaters. I love this one. I'll go this way, backwards here. So this is cool, eh? Yeah. We got this old red one with a white up on it.
Sleeves. Lots of color options.
A lot of color
now.
options. You got to just kind of thumb through the website, check some stuff out. This is rad. Black with yellow letters. Stands out crazy. Go through some of these new T-shirts here. We have a plan of just kind of really adding new stuff on there almost weekly. So I think next week we're going to have some long sleeves on there. I think we're going to do some tank tops. We got some ladies stuff coming that we haven't had for a long time. Hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have some event stuff. Right after the first of the year, they were supposed to be here already, but we got zipped up hoodies and pullover hoodies. It'll be really, really cool. We've been working on that. It's our own design. We're not buying these hoodies from anybody. We're actually having them all sewn up, everything all felt lettered. They'll be super, super cool. So be watching out for that. Of course, we'll let you know here and on all the social media platforms as soon as we get them. But boom, check that out.
Nice.
And just some really cool stuff, and some stuff that we haven't done before, just putting it out there, and some non-dated, non-event stuff. This is the kind of stuff that you can put on. You can wear it to your mom's house. You can wear it to church, fancy dinner with your wife. This is the one I'd wear for that. So, boom.
Oh.
Take your own
to the bar.
crib and,
Well, was that an invitation for dinner?
What?
If I let you put that on.
Hell yeah. We're going to Ruth's Chris, baby. So, anyway,
Nice.
check out what's on the site.
That works.
We'll be putting a lot of stuff on there over the next week, over the next couple weeks. One of the things that we haven't done, which is offered now, is you can actually get gift cards. So you don't think your buddy's going to like this shirt right here? Get him a gift card. Let him choose himself.
That's what I prefer. Truly. FYI.
So anyway, we're going to do something really cool tonight, aren't
Well,
we?
actually, we have two things.
All right.
We have two things. Right now, through next Monday?
Through next Monday.
Through next Monday, all orders, no matter what, get an automatic 15% off. So you don't have to use any code, nothing like that. It automatically takes it off. And then we kind of thought it'd be fun tonight that anyone who makes an order during the show, at the end of the show, we're going to refund one of those orders.
Yeah, that would be fun, huh?
That's kind of fun. So go to cannonballstore.com or motorcyclecannonball.com, get your order in during the show, and at the end of it, we'll draw one and refund you.
Yep. Give you all your money back. So spend 1,000.
Excellent.
No, we might give you 1,000 back.
You never know.
You might.
Hey, plus, you know what? This whole month, I decided that every order that goes out, we're going to give you a free koozie. Ooh. Plus a few other things in there, but I'll keep that a secret. So just some of the stuff that we're giving back this holiday season isn't one of those things that, we marked everything up 15% to take 15% off. Prices are all the same all the time, every year, all year.
We did go to a store the other day that they did that.
They did that.
And we were mad.
So not us.
We won't do that.
No.
Not your style.
The gift of Cannonball.
It's not your style.
Exactly. So anyway. But,
Well, I have less exciting news than that.
What's that?
But I finally got back onto eBay, and Retro Cycle Parts on eBay has a whole bunch of new listings. It's not as exciting, but we're back up on eBay.
I've been seeing some of the stuff you've been putting up on there.
Well, it's really funny. There's never any rhyme or reason to eBay, what sells and what doesn't. And there was stuff laying there for years and years that's like, that ain't going to sell. And all of a sudden, that stuff's going off the shelf. So that's the idea, man. I'm blowing stuff out too, by the way. So
I've seen that.
Yeah, getting to see they got the small Buco bag there.
Right there. I mean, that little Buco bag, I dang near bought that thing. Yeah. I mean, started a bid on it because that's pretty minty for that price.
It's pretty good. I mean, I wish I had the set, but you got what you got. I sold 2 of those lights this week. They've been sitting there for years. Just I dropped the price. Stuff's going out the door. So some of the stuff will be really good prices. A lot of it is best offer. So any of you guys out there with the newer bikes and the older bikes, I haven't dug into a lot of the stuff yet, but it's going to start going out. I'm going to try to get at least 10 listings a day out there. So
heck yeah,
it's about 280 items on there.
Come do some of mine too.
Send it out. I'll do it.
All right, I'm going to take you up on that. So anyway, I mean, really.
All right, so
we'll
listen, what's a picture worth, Jason?
1,000 words. Let's get to it.
Well, hi, y'all. So we've got, let's see. So our guest tonight is he's just a lot of fun. You're going to enjoy him. In 2018, he had a little issue that I don't know if it ever got solved or not, but that was one of the days that I was passengering with Joe Skaggs, and Aaron Lovelace was riding my bike because he was waiting on a part to rebuild his engine for his Cannonball bike. And so it was Joe and Aaron and me and Kurt, and we're kind of catching up to riders in mid-morning in Iowa. And we pull into a gas station to get gas and all that. And this guy was there, and he had just gotten gas. He had pulled out, and something happened, and his bike, the rear wheel locked up or something happened, and he dropped his bike. And then we pulled up. And so that's where the story starts.
So this is a weird deal, man. So right now I got it in neutral, right? It's spinning. The primary's not moving. And it's in neutral now, so let's turn the shaft. Right? That's okay. That's what I expect in neutral. The clutch is, it's spinning in neutral now, okay? This is the weird part, so check this out. So if you feel right in here, well, the sprocket's turning. If I go in, now you can see the clutch is turning. So the clutch is working, right? But when I start the bike, the crazy thing is, check this out. So I bent the pedal when it went over. That's all good. This is the part that's mystifying me now. And I think this is potentially some of the problem. Okay. So it's in neutral, right? And stop the rear wheel. Now you start to engage that clutch. Put that clutch down. Okay. Well, I guess I'm going to give it a go. Yeah, I'm going to give it a go. I need to call the sweet guys and let them know that I'm not here.
I'll do that.
Okay, so, and then I need to make sure everything else is. Now my headlight's got a dang dent on both sides. That one was from 16 on that side when I went in the ditch. This is from now. And it's the same thing. I bent that pedal up again, which I got to straighten that thing out again.
You all right, Doug? You didn't hurt your
Yeah,
foot or
no, I
anything?
mean, no, because I had all this on and it was, you know, I was just pulling out and I was going maybe 4 or 5 and boop,
yeah.
it went scoop and all right. Let me put my clothes back on. Are you filming?
Of course she is.
So it's just, you know, we just on, and there was Erik dealing with whatever it was, and I still don't know what happened. Maybe he does. We'll have to ask him when he comes on. But we run into this. I mean, this is Cannonball. You guys know that. It's you never know what's going to come, what's going to happen. You never know who's going to have what issue as you pull up to a gas station or you see them off on the side of the road, and of course, you know, the other riders are going by or they're stopping to see if you need something or to laugh at you, depending on who it is. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that up there since our mystery guest happens to be Erik tonight.
I tell you what, I would have stopped and helped him there because I seen where he was at in that video. Like, he was at a Casey's gas station. Man, they have freaking great donuts.
That's a, you know, Jason, I'm sure that is a great reason to stop to help somebody.
Oh, and pizza too. They got really good pizza.
Rebecca, I love how you have so much back footage. Like, all we have to do is tell you who the guest is, and you're like, oh, I have, you know, hours of whatever. And it, you know, people don't get to see any of this. So it's really cool just to see, you know, what happens in a 10-minute period for somebody on the side of the road.
Yeah. I have a lot of fun with it. As long as I can keep my batteries charged while we're out there, everything's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Those dang batteries.
Oh, I know. I can charge the GoPro batteries with my bike. So, but the big camera batteries I can't. So I just give up on it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, that was great. I'm
Thank
anxious
you.
to talk to Erik and see what he found out on that problem and how he got it fixed and what it was and all that kind of stuff. I'll get my mind off the donuts and the pizza and get him through there. So
You've mentioned food like 7 times, so I'll feed you afterwards. Okay.
He had toast.
send food.
Should we do it?
Hey,
Yeah.
let's before we bring our guest in, let's take a quick break. We'll do commercials and then we'll spend the rest of the time. We'll talk to Erik.
Get them orders. Win.
Get those orders in. Yes.
Hi, I'm Tom. I'm with Banks Brothers Motorcycles. One of the things I want to show you today is our new improved engine puller.
The changes to this machine has been in the arms and in the hands. We put hind joints in the hand to allow rotation of the engine, which makes it easier to get it in and out of the frame. With the angle change, we have equal clamping pressure on them. And over here we have what's called the posi lock, which allows this to be locked in place and the engine can't swing from side to side.
And we're going to show you just how easy it is to pull the motor out of the bike right now. George is actually going to come in, make contact with the cylinders, tighten it down, and pull it out of there.
You lift it up, rotate it, and bring the assembly out of the frame. You see the motor starting to move and it centers itself. This allows no side play once the motor's in place, and it keeps it safe. It can't fall out.
Visit BanksBrothersMotorcycles.com to order your Banks lift.
Hey, this is Chris from Cycle Source Magazine, and I want to thank you for watching the flagship show of the Source Media Group, Shop Talk. We go live with Shop Talk every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but it's only one of the many programs we offer from Source Media. In addition to that, Wednesday nights we have Cannonball Chronicles that looks into the life and times of Cannonball racers as they prepare for this year's Motorcycle Cannonball. Thursday night we have Bike Night Live that dives into the culture of bike night, the food, the bikes, and the fun of hanging out with friends, and we even have some live entertainment. Sunday morning, Cyber Swap kicks off, where we have a sort of home shopping network approach to motorcycle swap meets, and we bring guys on that have parts to sell live right there. All of this in addition to our staple programs, which are Grease and Gears TV, live on the street from the events and rallies, Grease and Gears Garage, and Grease and Gears Garage Roadshow. We look forward to bringing more of this type of programming to you from the home of Two Wheel Entertainment, the Source Media Group.
Hell yeah.
We're back. Heck yeah.
Banks Gas Services Studio, hosting everything. And I see Tom just signed in. Hey, Tom, how you doing? Hello, Walter. Got a lot of good people out there watching tonight, I got to tell you. This is pretty cool.
What have you seen on the social media network? I haven't really been paying attention.
Not a lot. Let's see. Let me just scroll back here. Tom, Roger Ufta is in here. Fly Broad is on. Tim Raines, David Crum is here as usual. It's great to see him. George Unruh. Hi, George. How's it going? Mike Podger, Nancy Weems. Just a whole bunch of people, man. If I miss some, and John Bartman has been here for a while, and Team White Trash, from what I understand, is watching.
Oh, heck yeah. Heck yeah.
So, yeah.
If you guys are just tuning in now,
You have something to sell?
What? Huh? What?
What?
I heard you have new products.
We do, yeah. So right before the break, we were kind of going over some of the new Motorcycle Cannonball products. We're doing a little thing tonight. Anybody that puts on an order within the next or during the show, or we have about 30, 40 minutes left. Anybody that places an order, we're going to take that order and...
No, what we're going to do.
I was getting to it.
we're going to draw
Yeah.
one of the orders that you make during the show, and we're going to refund it back to you,
Right.
which I think is a pretty damn good deal.
And we're even going to send you the stuff that you ordered.
Oh,
We're not
Yeah,
just
and
going
you're
to.
still going to ship the order. That was
We're still going to send you the stuff.
yeah, right. Yes. We didn't explain that very good, did
No.
we? This is our first time.
Yeah.
This is our first show.
Let me say hi to Marianne Jarvis. Just tuned in. Hi, Marianne. She's here a lot.
Heck yeah.
So we have a guest with us tonight that we've been we really need to get to this. So let's say hello to our new rider, our new guest for tonight.
Yes. Well, hey there,
Hi,
Mr.
Erik.
Erik Bahl. What's happening?
Oh, heck yeah. We're doing it down here in Alabama, buddy.
Did you tell me last night, or was it the night before, that you guys were getting snow?
We had snow, and actually, it's kind of like if you take powdered sugar in your little grandma's flour sifter and you kind of spread it out on the ground. That's about how deep it gets, and that's enough to shut the city down.
Right. Everything has been closed. Yeah.
It lasted about 2 days, and the toilet paper and beer is all gone.
We can't even get toilet paper at all.
No.
Well, that's all
Bread and
different.
milk.
That's a
Bread and
different
milk.
story. Yeah.
Luckily, we live in the desert. We got lots of cactuses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can Rebecca hear us while we're talking?
Yes.
Rebecca, I have got to get
Yes.
that footage. That's amazing.
Okay.
I can't believe that. That event. Did you actually see me when I went down that day? Were you in the gas station, or did you? hear
No,
the
we missed that part. You had
Okay.
just picked up the bike and pulled back up there as we pulled up.
Wow.
So I've got my first shot, which didn't go in the segment, is because it's all bumpy, was us pulling into the gas station, and you were talking to us.
Okay,
But like I said, the video and audio is not good, so I didn't use it in the piece.
that's fine. I was actually after the fact. I was actually under a lot of adrenaline at that point, so some of that's a little bit hazy. So to see that was kind of crazy. What had happened? I think we might have been in Ohio then, but you would know better than I would because it's all a blur, right? And we had been running down a state highway or an interstate for about 50 or 60 miles. And so we were all running our bikes really hard. And we had pulled off, and there was probably 15 miles or so from what I recall to this gas station. And I had gotten gas. And when I pulled out of the parking lot, I'm shifting from first to second, going kind of quick. It's a little Mayberry town. You could kind of see that from the video that you sent. And as I was going into second and I let the clutch out, the rear wheel locked, the bike fishtailed under me and just slammed me to the ground. I mean, hard. And I hit it and I didn't know what had happened. And luckily, I believe it was the Rip Rap group was there, Jason, Brent, and Shane. And they actually ran out there to help me up and get the bike out of the road because I was kind of shocked. And I pushed it over there and, I kind of checked it out and I couldn't figure out what had happened. And then it was about 10 miles to the lunch stop at one of these little Harley dealers. And so I took it into the garage there, or I pulled the pedals off actually, because like I had mentioned on the video, it bent the pedal up into the bike, and that's a 1915 Harley Twin. So it's got pedals on it. So you've got to pedal that bike to start it. And when the pedals bent up in the motor, it makes starting that bike really difficult. So I pulled the pedal off and went and borrowed their press and straightened that out. And at that same dealership, I remember Doug Jones was in the bay with his 14 Indian twin, and he was changing a tire there. So we're both working on the bikes and we're not getting to eat. But what I figured out later that day when I'd hit the ground, I'd actually broken my lower left rib. And And I didn't notice it during the day, but when I was laying down at night, it kind of kept me up. So that was actually kind of cool to see that video captured. And I busted a mirror. And like I said, another ding in that bike is a punching bag.
Punching bag.
I've been under that bike and on the ground and hit stuff. It's just been, it's a miracle that bike hasn't burned up in me with it.
Tell us some more about your adventures under the bike. I understand this is a running thing with you.
Yeah. So that was 18, right, Rebecca? That was when that video was from?
Yeah. That's from 18.
Oh yeah. And so so in 16, same bike, I was running down some back road, and I think we were in Virginia or something, and you're coming down this hill, and then you go up, and it's treed on both sides, and there's probably 3-foot deep ditches, and they're full of gravel and boulders. And as I'm coming down this hill, and it's probably about a mile-long stretch or so, and there's nowhere to get off, immediately you go down in the ditch. The bike starts kicking on me and acting like it wants to die, and I'm like, I can't break down right here, because there's nowhere to get my bike off the road. You just couldn't get down in those gravel ditches with it. You'd never get it out. And, I'm fiddling with stuff thinking I'm losing gas or it's vapor locking or something. And all of a sudden it starts going proper again. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I'm running down the road and I start to go up the hill and it starts to die again. And I'm like, I can't do this right now. And so there happened to be a little get off about maybe 15 feet long that was gravel, maybe a couple feet wide. So I whipped over there real quick. And I put my foot down, to hold myself. And next thing I know, I'm tipping over in the ditch, because what I didn't realize, I'd gotten off so quick that even though my tire was on the road, there was about a foot between the bottom of my boot and the ditch. And the bike just flipped over on me. And I'm under the bike, still straddling it. And it's actually running at that point. And gas and oil are just pouring out on me. And my leg is on fire. And I killed the bike, and I said, I think I just broke my leg. And I'm laying there under this bike, and I'm like, I can't even lift it. I'm in a lot of pain at that point, and I'm just saying, I think I'm in a little bit of a pickle here. And so luckily, Mark Lowen from California, who's riding, I think it was a 12 Excelsior belt drive twin with Victor Bucock on his 14 Harley twin. They come meandering down the hill, and they see me, and I'm thinking they're just going to run on by, and they kind of stop, and they help drag the bike up off of me, get it out of the ditch. And I stand up on one leg, and like I said, mine's on fire. And I think we were about 20 miles from the end of that day. And I put a little weight on it, and I said, well, maybe it's not broken. And then I'm like, the pedal was jammed up in the engine again. So there's no starting that bike that way easily. You can push start it. And so they push started the bike, and they kind of held it while I got on it. And luckily there was no traffic on that road. And I did get up into another Harley dealer, and got that pedal out right away, and went into the shop and used their 12-ton press to straighten that pedal out again. So that's 2 consecutive cannonballs that bike's put me on the ground. Now you could say it's the bike or it's the driver or rider, which I really should take responsibility, I guess.
Well, first we have to assess the blame, and then we can move on.
Yeah, that one. Luckily, there was nothing broken there. I had just wrenched my knee real bad. So I limped for about 3 days, and it was a little bit of a difficulty pedal starting, because, you put some weight on it. But yeah, I made it all the way to the end both times. And, that's part of the fun, is not killing yourself.
That is one of the goals.
Yeah, I understand that as being promoters.
Give us a little history on your Cannonball. Why'd you really want to sign up for the Cannonball? What was it that struck you about the event? And how many Cannonballs have you been in?
Well, okay, so the first Cannonball, I was a little bit aware of the 2010 Cannonball when it had happened. But at that point, I was actually into antique BMWs, and BMW started building motorcycles in 23, which I thought was old at that time. I didn't know much about earlier bikes. And They came through Huntsville, actually. I didn't get to go down there, but I heard about it. And I'm sort of an adventurer. I'm more of a solo adventurer. I'm not big into a lot of group rides, to be honest with you. But it sort of intrigued me. I was obviously younger then, a working guy in the middle of his career. And I thought it was kind of an interesting concept, but it seemed very expensive. And it's a lot of time to take off. If you have jobs that, you know, don't give you a lot of time off, or they sort of frown on taking multiple weeks off at a time. So that kind of lit the spark there. And then I had a friend out in California, Daryl Richmond from the BMW Club, did it in 2012, I think, and Jack Wells and all those BMW guys. And then when 14 rolled around, I realized that life is kind of short. And if you wait till retirement to do things, you may not have the health to do it, or you may not even be around. And so I decided to kind of jump off the diving board, as they say, which it's been one of the most life-changing experiences I've ever had personally.
Heck yeah. So your first ride was in 2014, correct? And it was on a 1928 BMW?
It was a 29 BMW overhead valve bike. There were 7 BMWs in that 14 Cannonball. And so 6 of them were flatheads, and I had the overhead valve bike. And sometimes I overestimate my planning abilities. And on that bike, I was working on it pretty diligently, and I'd restored several later BMWs, you know, 50s and 60s. And I said, okay, 29 is going to be just as easy. And that was a nightmare, quite honestly. When I cracked it open, it's a really simple bike, but getting parts for it were just impossible. That bike, there was less than 1,000 built, being overhead valve. And I just got that bike run. I was, you know, like everybody else that does the Cannonball, they're like, oh, I'm going to have the bike running 6 months ahead of time and put 1,000 miles on it. And I had the same plan, because that's what all the other Cannonball riders told me that I needed to do. And 3 days before the Cannonball started, I had 50 miles on it. And 25 of that was driving to my sweep truck. And I was like, what the hell did I just do?
Crazy. So how did you actually do in the 14 Cannonball?
I did well. Some people, like I said, are a lot luckier or smarter or better prepared. I did like a lot of first-time Cannonballers do. I got to enjoy a portion of it. So I made it into Kansas before I blew the motor up in that bike.
Oh, and then you were done.
I was done. I actually, luckily it was on a rest day. And so I pulled the motor down with my little mechanic Zeke, who's my friend's son. And I got in there and I saw the damage. It's actually wasn't real bad, but it just wasn't repairable on the road, not in a short period of time. And I said, we got to pack it in, because I wasn't going to risk that bike.
Right. Yeah, too rare to sometimes.
Now I'm on a Harley that I don't mind running into trees with, you know.
Right. So how about, I want to know about the transition that you made now from German engineering to American engineering.
Well, so that was that's it. I've always started with newer stuff to some degree in a lot of things that I do. And I keep going back earlier, because a lot of times I do it just to learn about the technology. I'm just interested in taking stuff apart and seeing what makes it tick. So 23 was the first year BMW. So I, you know, and my 29 is essentially the same as a 23. And I said, well, if I'm going to go earlier and learn some more primitive technologies, I've got to transition into other brands. And another catalyst in that was the 16 Cannonball. You know, the rumors were, when we were on the 14 Cannonball, the rumors were that it was going to be 100-year-old only. And I'm like, I love this. This is great, but I don't have a bike for it. So when I got home, Jason, a week and a half into the Cannonball, when the rest of the guys are still riding across the country, I was already in the network shopping for my next bike, for the next Cannonball. I had like 5 bikes identified before you guys even got to Tacoma.
Right. Well, I know there was a lot. I mean, when Lonnie kind of dropped a little rumor here and there that we were looking at doing 100 years and older, that people on the road were actually freaking out and shopping the same exact way.
Yes. He created a shopping frenzy for sure.
That's for sure.
And-
So let's
and
talk
that was-
about the 15. Where'd you end up acquiring it?
So I had basically identified about 4 or 5 bikes, and ultimately I went. Rick McMakin had this bike, and Rick McMakin had run this bike in the 2010 Cannonball, and he had won Class 3 on that bike in the 2010 Cannonball. And so we started talking about it, and he was interested in selling it because he actually had a second 15 that was actually a nicer bike that he had acquired from a friend of his, I believe, that had passed away. So he had duplicates, and he's a little bit of an older guy, and he was thinning his collection out a little bit. But something like that's a little bit expensive, so it's kind of something you want to see in person, especially when you don't know a lot about it. So I flew out there and spent about half a day with him and looked at it, and I had looked at a couple other bikes, and I decided that was the bike to buy. But something that I learned about those bikes, which was really interesting, is, and I tell a lot of other people this that are looking to do, earlier bikes, no matter what they are, that bike really, by my rule of thumb and kind of how he guided me, that needs to be torn completely down about every 5,000 miles and inspected. You don't need to do a full rebuild, but there's going to be things in there you need to address versus,
Right.
20, 30,000 miles. So, I ended up buying that bike, and he gave me some pointers, and we made the deal, and I brought it home and I started taking it apart.
And what'd you have to do when you take it apart?
Well, with that, he had actually done some modifications to kind of, like a lot of guys do. He had put some knucklehead pistons in there to up the compression, and he had modified the valve springs. And I wanted to take it all back to stock with flathead pistons. I wanted to make it low risk on the bike because it is an old machine and the metal's very old. So I took it all back to stock, and it was a real interesting learning process. Taking everything apart and learning how to do it. Somebody that helped me a lot technically with advice was Dave Cafton out in Lodi, California. He's done some
Right.
Cannonballs, and he rebuilds bikes for guys. And I was back and forth to California because of my job. And so when I was out there, I go see those West Coast guys. And so I went up to Dave's a few times just to ask him questions and for him to show me things. Or I'd take a part out there with me and have him look at it and tell me what he thought I needed to do to it.
Right. Yeah, he's a great mechanic.
Yeah, he's real good. Yeah.
Right. So now you've done 2 Cannonballs now with that, the 16 and the 18, and you were signed up to do the 21. Are you bringing the 15 back for that?
Yeah, the 15, the funny thing about that bike, when it's a Cannonball year, like a lot of guys, I have a handful of bikes. That bike during Cannonball year gets the most miles on it in a year. And I just love riding that bike. It's a filthy, dirty bike that beats you to death, but it's actually, I trust it to go anywhere on it. The problem with going anywhere is, how do you carry enough stuff with you? And when I say stuff, it's just oil or tires or a chain. You just can't load it up with that much stuff where you can just take off on the bike by itself and really, say I'm going to head cross country. I mean, you can do it if you ship stuff ahead or whatever, but that bike, I jump on it today and just head anywhere, even in this weather we've got. It's just such a good bike.
Yeah, I can tell when you're riding that bike how confident that you really are on the thing while you're on the road. I mean, you're just kicked back and laid back and having a great old time with that thing.
Yeah,
Erik, we got a couple people here who want to say hi to you. Bill Redensel just chimed in. He wanted to say hello. Mike Podger has a question that he wants us to ask you. Since you're prone to injury, we want to know a little more about that, but he wants to know about your Achilles, something about your Achilles tendon.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Yeah, so that's, nothing's ever easy. And that's what makes life interesting.
Well, if it was easy, everybody do it, right?
Yeah, so yeah, that was part of the the 2018 Cannonball experience. You know, I was ready to go. I believe it was the end of June, and you know, September's rolling up, and we're going up to Portland, Maine, and I just happened to pop my Achilles tendon on my right leg completely. It just snapped right across. And so what I didn't understand about that was, you know, okay, just staple it back together and you're good to go. Well, it's not that simple, and it's not a 2-day deal. It was when you have your tendon snap, for anybody out there that's had it, because I'm sure I'm not the only one, actually it makes it difficult to walk. And you have about a 6-inch span that you can walk, and you definitely can't pedal anything or put any weight on it. It's just terrible. So I went in, you know, to the ER, and you know, I'm like going in there, and they said your tendon's popped, and I'm like, well, okay, that's not good. And I'm like, stick me in surgery now. And they're like, no, you got to go home and lay on the couch for a week and let the swelling go down so it can go down enough where the orthopedic doctor can look at it. So I laid on my couch for a week sitting there thinking like, well, this is time ticking off. This isn't good. And so then I go into the orthopedic doctor, and he's like, yep, it's snapped, and here's what we got to do. And I'm like, all right, book me into surgery today or tomorrow. Let's get it done. And he's like, well, I can't get you in for a couple of weeks. I'm like, wait. I told him, I said, you don't understand. I got this event coming. And so then I asked him, I said, how long is this going to take to heal? Because I'm thinking they staple it together and you're good to go in about 2 weeks. He said, you're going to be in a boot maybe in 3 months after the surgery. For 3 months, can't even put weight on it. 3 months in a boot. And he said it's going to take a year for you to be kind of back to normal. And at that point, I had maybe 6 or 8 weeks, maybe 2 months to the Cannonball. So I'm like, well, I got to go on this Cannonball. And he's kind of shaking his head. No, that's not happening. And I was kind of going, yeah, what can we do to make it happen? And so in the end, what happened was I came home and I just fretted, and I laid on my couch with my leg elevated and went on that little knee scooter once in a while. And I said, you know, he said, finally told me after a month, I'm like, when is this cast coming off and I go into the boot? And he said it would come off basically 2 weeks before a week to 2 weeks before the Cannonball. Yeah, so this is kind of interesting. But then I'm going to wear that black boot, and you can't put any weight on it, and you can't wear that. I couldn't conceive wearing that black boot. You've seen guys in those black boots wearing that cross country in weather. There's just no way. It's too big and clunky. So I started scheming and researching on the internet, and I found that there's a thing called a polio brace, and it's like a boot, and it's custom made for your feet. It's very thin, and it laces up, you know, to your knee, and you can actually put a regular boot over the top of it. So I went down to the orthopedic doctor, and I said, listen, I need to get this custom brace. Will you let me do that? And he's kind of shaking his head like that's a bad idea, but he's kind of willing to agree. And I said, what I need you to do is cut this cast off so I can go over to the prosthetic place across the street so they can take a mold of my leg. And that was that picture. And then I came back, and they put the cast back on. And then the orthopedic place, I had to pay a lot of extra money to get them to rush build that brace. And that came in a week before the Cannonball. So the orthopedic brace is that tan thing you see in the boot over my red socks. But that's the first time I tried to really put weight on that leg. And he told me that was pretty fragile. And if that snapped, that there probably wasn't going to be enough tendon left over to reattach, like to do a second weight. Yeah. Yeah. So I was pretty nervous about the whole thing with that during the Cannonball. And actually my little mechanic Zeke, who came with me in the mornings, I would let him start my bike just to keep that stress off, knowing that I was going to have to start it later in the day. And when I hit the ground in that intersection, you know, where I broke that rib, I was glad it was the rib and I didn't snap the tendon, because I would have been out of the Cannonball.
All right.
Hey, Podger wants to know about the doctor's nurse.
But I want to hear about that, because I was getting ready to talk about Zeke, and then Podger came in and said, we have to ask you about the doctor's nurse.
I don't know anything about that. Sorry, Leanne, I didn't miss that.
Is this appropriate?
No, it's not that it's not appropriate, but you know, I'm a single guy, and there's people that are constantly trying to get me in trouble, and I avoid it.
All right, so Mike Podger, you're banned now. No more questions.
He's banned. Unfriend him.
Unfriend him. Everybody on social media, unfriend Mike Podger right now. He's Canadian, you know.
He's actually in our Smoky Mountain chapter, our local chapter, and he pays his dues with Canadian money, which is it looks like monopoly.
Does
money.
that work?
No, we don't know what to do with it. We were hoping the Cannonball would go through Canada because we could buy a lot of stuff with this pot of money we got.
and your neighbor Doug Wafke and Polly said to say hi. They're watching along tonight.
All right. So I want to talk a few minutes here about, I believe it was in 18, your crew member, Zeke, that came along with you.
Yeah. So Zeke is, so when I was a younger man, kind of like Jason, I spent a little bit of time in the military doing my country's duty, right? And when I was in there, I met, you meet a lot of people that become lifelong friends. And one of those is my friend Kevin Smith, who actually is about an hour north of me up in Lynchburg, Tennessee, and he works for Jack Daniels. We've been friends since the late 80s. And so Zeke, I think he's 18 now. So I was around when he was born. And so it's Kevin and Tina's son. And he's just a smart kid, and he's mechanically inclined. And so back in the 14 Cannonball, he would bring Zeke down to Huntsville, and Zeke helped me take the BMW apart and work on it. And then I brought Zeke on the Cannonball with me. I had another driver, but Zeke got to travel until we broke down. His parents let him go. He skipped 16 because at that point I decided to kind of go a little bit rogue and not have a support vehicle or support crew. And then in 18, I bought one of those Ford Transit vans that everybody has because they're just so convenient. And I needed a driver, and Zeke had turned 17 years old 3 weeks before the Cannonball started. And his dad was all about him going and being my driver. And his mom had to be convinced a little bit, but that wasn't too hard. And so Zeke, at that point, we're at the end there. So he's 4 weeks into being 17. And Zeke got to drive across the entire United States by himself in that Ford Transit van.
Wow.
Because the support crew, we only see those guys at night. So I have no idea what's happening during the day. So he had his own adventure. Like there's some big rest stop in Iowa, some truck stop that's got a museum. He stopped there and spent like an hour there looking at trucks and all that stuff. And he's actually in automotive engineering school, and he was supposed to drive for me this year. And so there he was waiting for his morning duty to start my bike before we were getting ready to take off. But he's just he's a really good kid, and he's real smart, way smarter than I am, and he knows a lot about vehicles.
He's great. I mean, I've got to have a couple conversations with him while we were on the event, and he just smiles all the time, happy to be there. And I mean, there's not many 17-year-olds that would ever get this type of opportunity. And, I respect you a lot for bringing somebody like this on the event to try to, bring the younger generation into what we're doing in our world.
He's been to swap meets with me. He's gone and done stuff. I mean, his dad's come down to Barbers, and they've come down there and camped, so they're around it. His dad is more of a bicyclist. He does all that bicycling. So,
right.
The thing with him is, and this is what I appreciate about the Cannonball and these kids, if you find the right kids and you give them the chance to be around this stuff and hold it, I mean, it changes their life.
Absolutely.
Because I'm an older guy, and I got in the Cannonball, and the Cannonball has changed my life from the perspective of some people that I've actually been able to connect with people who are kind of quirky and like really weird stuff that I like, and it's a unique group. And there's kids out there, and if they get this opportunity at a younger age, man, that's just amazing. I mean, some people are fortunate enough to grow up with it. I wasn't, and he wouldn't be. But, this is another guy that's going to be big into antique vehicles.
Erik, I have a note here that says something that you have a particular interest about the support crew and that you want to do something related to that. Well, can you tell us?
Well, I don't know that I necessarily want to do it, but I think that you guys are talking to the riders. I think that's awesome. And I understand people might be interested, but I think the support crew, that would be a whole different conversation, because the thing about the Cannonball, and this is what I tell people that are new to it, is you just think you're going on this cruise and it's going to be this party and you're hanging out and you're all together. But really, I mean, if you're a successful rider, you don't spend any time with your support crew except, like I said, in the evening, when a lot of times it's under stress, and in the morning a little bit, and then at the very end. And so there's two distinct vacations happening here, if you call them vacations. And me as a rider, I don't actually know what goes on, but I hear a lot of stuff. I hear it's almost like a soap opera sometimes with these support crews. I hear about people being left at rest stops and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Wow.
I can tell you stories, Eric. I can tell you stories about that.
So I don't know that you need to have a segment with a support crew for the whole segment, but maybe you do like 15-minute intervals with some interesting stories they've got to share.
No, we're definitely going to have a support crew segment. I ran support with Chris Simmons on 2018.
Yeah.
And I've always said there's two events going on. One is the race for the support crew, and the other is the race for the riders. And the support crew has to go out, get all the supplies that they need. You know, it's like we'll get a call from the road. We need, new gas line, or we need to find this. And then you have to go to some podunk town and find this stuff, and then get set up under a light in the hotel and hope you get there early enough to get that spot. Otherwise, it's pull the generator out, pull the lights out, pull everything out of the truck. So
yeah,
right.
I think that, for me personally, since this is my event that I'm paying for the deal. And I understand different people have different arrangements, but I'm doing my own mechanicking, and maybe some people are being paid, but we're dragging a lot of people along with us, and they come because they kind of find it interesting and cool, but it's actually a lot of work. And, we're getting to see all the scenery and the guy carving, the Dutch shoes by the side of the road, and you guys are just burning down the interstate, so it's a big sacrifice to support a rider.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For sure.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's definitely a lot of fun.
Like the Team White Trash crew,
Oh my God. Those guys have more fun than any support crew.
Right. I mean, it was a race to see where they could go skinny dipping every day.
Right.
Those guys have got enough expertise. They learned how to make it fun. Whereas, like you said, sometimes you're running around a lot trying to find certain tools or an emergency part, and nobody's getting any sleep. I mean, speaking of Mike Podger, he could probably tell you a story one time, and I don't remember this exactly, and I think it was in 2016, where he had checked out of the hotel and forgot Doug Jones's suitcase, and he had almost gotten to the next stop, and he had to turn back around and go get his suitcase from the hotel. So,
oh my God,
that was probably a 500-mile day or so.
Right. Well, there just came up a story on the side here from Robert Ziola.
Bob Ziola's story is great.
He had his wife had taken off Andrea and had the keys to the support crew vehicle in her pocket. I think she ended up being 150, 200 miles away before they realized it. So she had to leave the keys at a gas station. He had to drive 200 miles. Yeah, a taxi, 200 miles to go pick up the keys, and then 200 miles back, and then drive to the next city.
And only Bob would laugh about that.
If you don't laugh about the Cannonball, you don't need to be on it.
Well, they're like this. Those two are like the sweethearts of the Cannonball anyway. So
right.
Well, speaking of support crew, though, Erik, you did the chase where we had no support crew.
Yes.
So what's your take on the chase?
Okay, so Jason and I actually talked about it, I think after Barber's. After this chase at Barber's. I'll be honest with you. I love the chase, but I went into the chase after doing 3 cannonballs on a earlier bike, and I'm like, this is going to be a piece of cake. It's 10 days. I'm on a newer bike. Yeah, I've got to carry all my tools and my clothes, but it's not going to be that big of a deal. I found that the chase actually was, for me personally, was harder than any Cannonball I'd been on. And there were two reasons. One was I was riding a 47, 48 combination Harley that was a one-owner bike I'd pulled out of a barn about a year and a half earlier that had last run in 1976. And I just had gotten it was worn out. And I just had gotten it up and running because what I wanted to do with that one, I said, I tear these things completely down and, I go through everything and I'm pretty well prepared normally. I said, I keep hearing about these guys that pull something out of a barn and they just put oil in it and they ride it all over Timbuktu. So I said, I'm going to try that this time. And so I pulled this bike out of a barn. 1976 was the last time it ran. And like I said, it had been run hard. And I did the minimum I had to do to get the bike running. And I put about 1,500 miles on it. And this is a couple months before the chase. And I'm like, all right, it's going pretty good. And so I called Jason up and I'm like, hey, I want to get in if there's room. And he let me in. I did have to bribe him a little bit, but don't let that out to the general public. So the second day of the chase, I started having problems with the bike and it just wouldn't run. And people were having problems with some bad gas in the beginning where water had gotten in it. And so I thought it was that we had rain, but what it turned out to be on the second day, it turned out that the rear intake was leaking and I was fouling the front plug out and it was stripped out. And the guy that I bought it from had apparently sealed it with RTV, but there was so much dirt on there. I didn't know that this repair had been done. So I thought I was getting a U-Haul truck the second day and going back home. And Kyle Rose from Legends had this stuff called, that goop he had, the fuel. Easy turn. Yeah. And so he had that and I smeared that around there, sealed up the leak enough where then I could run the bike about 50 or 60 miles before it fouled the front plug out. And I'd pull it out and clean it and put it back in and go another 50 or 60. And I continued doing that. And then the second part of the chase that was super challenging to me, and I should have known better living in Alabama, is basically the second day, I think it was, or the third day into the chase all the way to the end. So we had 8 days where I think it was over 100 degrees. And that was just brutal physically because it just it was that humid heat. And physically it just was, if we would have had to do one more day after Key West, I think I might have collapsed. And I was hydrating a lot. I always wear a Camelback.
Right.
Yeah, it was really hot and really humid, and it was getting tough, wasn't it?
Yeah, and so I cautioned some of the riders that I know on this next Cannonball. This year would have been a great time to have the Cannonball in the South because it was unseasonably cool. But if it's like next year, or if it's like a normal year next year, if we get to do this, people need to be very careful about keeping hydrated if we're riding for 16 or 17 days because down here it's just tough.
It is. It'll be, same kind of things, hot, brutal, humid.
Yeah. So I actually, like I said, I found the chase more challenging physically. And like I said, it was kind of cool though, to have a bike break in a way you didn't expect. And how I ended up fixing it where I didn't have to change the plug every 50 or 60 miles was, or clean it. A guy in one of these Harley shops, I think it was Tallahassee, he had like an old rawhide shoestring. No, it was Erik Dunk had it in a sidecar, some old rawhide, and I wrapped that rawhide in there. And then I tied it with some safety wire and then smeared that easy turn around it. And then I was able to go like a 300-mile day without having to change the plugs out.
Right. Yeah, that was fun.
It was a lot of fun. I really did enjoy it.
It was. And we got to get a sponsorship from Easy Turn because that stuff is
That's for sure.
that's a miracle drug for everybody, That's the Motrin for motorcycles.
Well, I was so appreciative of Kyle sharing it with me. Obviously, I returned what I had used plus some, and then since I ordered some, I gave it out to a few other people. Now, one person I'll say helped me out a lot on the chase. Doug Wathke was riding sweep, and I'm a little bit obstinate about trying to fix my own problems, and I'm not always the best person to listen to advice, especially when I'm under stress. And I was sitting there beside the road, and that bike just wouldn't run, and I just couldn't figure it out. And I was emptying out the carb bowl, And, I was readjusting the juts and checking the points and the ignition. It just was bucking and everything. And I'm running out of time and the sweep truck is coming up, I know. And Doug said, did you check the plugs? And I'm like, oh, damn, I didn't even think to do that. And so I pulled that front plug out and it was black. And this was before I found the leak and sealed it. So I didn't know why it was like that. And so I put a fresh plug in there and then I was off down the road and made it to the, that was the day we were at the Harley Museum, I think.
Well, knowing Doug, he probably put that black plug in there just so he could.
Hey, Erik, let's talk about addiction a little bit. There's a quote that came from you, something about addiction. Do you recall that quote?
No, I'm not quoting. I don't exactly remember the quote, but
something about Jason maybe should be arrested for being a drug dealer.
Oh yeah.
What's that all about?
Well, that's just about all these events, I mean, they're so cool and they're so much fun to do. I said after the 18 Cannonball that I was not going to do another one because part of the reason I went on the Cannonball initially was just wanted to see America. I've been around a lot on interstates and then I've traveled in the Southeast and the North, on back roads, but I had never really been out in the middle of the country or out west. And the Cannonball gives you a perfect excuse to go from coast to coast on back roads, going 45 miles an hour through all these little towns. And you just get to see all this cool stuff. To me, riding down the interstate is totally boring. And so this last Cannonball, I said, well, we've gone across this many ways and there's, he's going to have to start repeating routes. And then all of a sudden he comes up with this north to south thing. And I'm like, damn it. He's like telling me crap, He's finding a new blend.
Yeah. So the quote we have from you, just to clarify, Jason is not a drug dealer, but your quote is, Jason is a drug dealer and these rides are the crack.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, they are. I mean, I save a lot of vacation up and I don't do a lot of stuff just so I can do the Cannonball because it's so different, going away for the weekend because you do it and you forget it in 2 days. But when you're on the road for 3 weeks or a month, I mean, it's just so impactful.
Let's talk about the people then, just for a minute here. You went on one without a support crew. So tell me about how some of the people, your relationship with some of these people who've been involved.
Yeah, like I said earlier, what the Cannonball has done for me is really connected me with a lot of people that have become really good friends to me. And they're just very interesting people and they're very knowledgeable and they have a lot of information that I want to learn. And so the 14 Cannonball, just like a lot of new people, my support vehicle was just way overkill. It was just too much. And so when 16 rolled around, I had some people offer to do support, but at that point I knew enough people and I just didn't want to drag someone else into this. And so I said, I'm going to do it different in 16. So I said, if I can find somebody to haul a couple tires and some cases of oil and my tools, if I can get my bike up to Atlantic City, that was 16. Yeah. Atlantic City. I said, I'll just start right across the country and I'll just park it in the parking lot. And so, Mark Lowen and Victor Bucock and Mark Wiebens, I don't think there was a third person in there. They kind of had a team. And so Mark Lowen, they're taking this big rig. And I said, Mark, can I rent a little space in the bed of your truck to carry some of my stuff across country? And that'll offset your gas. And he agreed to that. And so Doug Jones and Patty Jones, his wife, they were driving up from Georgia. And so I said, well, I'll drive my truck up to the beginning and I'll drop my bike off. And then Patty wanted to go for a couple of days and she could take my truck back. And so I just gave her the truck up there in Atlantic City. And then I just went stop to stop to stop. The problem with that a little bit was sometimes the team out of California was at a different hotel than I was. So I have to go dig some clothes out of my suitcase or go get some tools from them and bring them back. So it was a little bit complicated, but and then there's couple places where I was worried about leaving my bike out in the parking lot, that it might not be there in the morning, but it made it. So yeah.
Hey, let's take a look at some of the pictures you supplied. Maybe you can just give us a quick synopsis of what's going on here, if we can take a look, and maybe you can refresh us on.
Okay, so this is the pedal deal. So that was the pedal at that Harley dealership in 18 where Rebecca had filmed me. So I was happy then, because you notice that pedal over there to the left is straight now, and it wasn't curved, like a half moon. So I could continue on. That is my 29 BMW that I rode in the 14 Cannonball, and that was actually at the that was the day that the bike blew up, and that was kind of a funny day. That was a 300-mile day, and like I said, we stopped in Kansas, and about 20 miles out, I heard the engine started making the hum changed, but I started thinking maybe I was hallucinating, because when you ride out by yourself 10 hours a day, you start hearing things. You start hearing voices in your head and all kinds of things. And I pulled over and looked, and I didn't see anything. The oil looked okay. And I pulled in this gas station 2 miles from the end, and it got right up there. I filled it up with gas. I went to kick it, and the engine just spun over real easy, and nothing turned over. So, I pulled the valves, and the drivetrain wasn't turning at all. So, I mean, that was kind of God watching out for me, getting me off the road to the end. But here I am 2 miles from the end, and I'm like, well, do I wait for the sweep truck so I can get all those miles up to that point, right? And I called Lonnie on the phone, and I'm like, Lonnie, I broke down 2 miles from the end, and that was a hard day. It was hot, and I was just too tired to push it at that point, and frustrated too. And Lonnie's like, yeah, the sweep truck's like 2 hours out, so you can have your team pick you up, and we'll just stock the 2 miles. But then I was out of the game at that point, so it didn't matter.
Right. Huh. So in the 14, you had troubles. The 16, you got perfect miles.
Yeah.
18, what happened there?
Oh my gosh, that's embarrassing. That's so embarrassing. I got all the miles.
You actually made all the miles in 18.
I made all the miles. But I made a blunder, and I was so mad at myself, because I'm kind of a detailed guy, and I was just mad. So that was one of those hot days. We were out in the Midwest or out west somewhere, and it was hot that day, and that was about a 300-mile day if I remember right. And like I said, I had that boot on, and it didn't breathe. And so my leg would get hot, and it's swelling, and it's healing. And so I pull into the end, that town at the end that day. And I've got like an hour until I've got to cross the line. So I'm at a gas station, and I'm like, I'm going to go up to the hotel, and I'm going to take off this brace and elevate my leg for, an hour and let the swelling go down until I go across the line. And so I'm coming into town, and there was an optional, well, I thought it was optional. There was a photo opportunity, and the guys that were on there will remember it. It was at that Capitol or whatever, like 2 miles from the end point. And I actually thought it was an optional photo. I didn't realize it was mandatory. But to be honest with you, I did come out of the hotel, and I said, I'm going to ride. I felt a lot better. Then I said, I'm going to backtrack and go to that photo stop and see if they're still there. Well, I come out of the hotel, and, there's somebody standing there, and they're like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm finishing the Cannonball up. And they're like, oh, they're right across the street in that park behind the trees. And I'm like, oh, well, I'll just drive over there. And so I didn't go back. And I get in there, and people were like, did you know that was the checkpoint at the picture place? And I'm like, damn. And I went to John Class, and I'm like, hey, can I leave and go? No, actually, I looked for you first, Jason, because I confessed to you that I missed the checkpoint. I didn't want to try to pull anything on anybody. And so I told you, and you had said, well, just go back and do it. And I went to talk to John Klassen about it, and he said, if you leave, you're penalized. So there was no way out. So I lost 100 points. I got all the miles, but it was kind of a slap in the face of that I need to really sit down and pay attention to directions.
Right. It was kind of some trickery on our part. That was the first time that we've ever had a checkpoint within 1 mile of the finish line. So we did it just to check everybody's integrity.
You caught the fly in the ointment, and I was that one.
That was that was a weird day.
We only caught one person.
Yeah, I know. I should have got a special award. Well, you guys actually did good because when you were giving out those medallions, you brought up everybody I think that had gotten all the miles and had gotten penalties though. So I remember I think Newman I think was over there with me. There was 4 or 5 of us that were kind of on that little perfect miles shame group, you know.
Right.
Which brings me to another thing about that trickery. I know this is super controversial, but I like the test.
I do too.
I like them too. I think it brings a great element to the event, honestly.
Hey, Mike Carson's going to be on with us in a couple of weeks. We can discuss that with him.
So here's how I approached the chase in the test. When that came up, I was really kind of shocked, but I like things that are a little bit of a twist. So I set a pretty low. Well, I don't know that it was a low goal because I am definitely not a motorcycle history expert at all. I know about what I have, but I don't know a lot about what I don't have. So I set a goal of myself to get, if I could get a 30, I said that was success. And I ended up getting 41. So that was pretty dang good.
That was put you in the top tier pretty much. So, but anyway, I mean, I think we need to try to kind of wrap it up here a little bit.
Let me make one more comment before we wrap. The last thing I wanted to make a comment of is the picture you guys showed in the beginning where you had Alex Trepanier in the desert rolling up that route chart in 16. So that was like your guys' cover photo.
All right.
That actually is kind of an interesting little story. So that was actually we were almost through the Mojave then. So we were at the other end of the Mojave at that point, you know, out there in the middle of Timbuktu nowhere with those winds. And Alex is over there parked beside the road, and I pulled over there, and he's trying to get that roll chart. It's ripping to pieces. And he's like, asked me if I had some tape. And he said he made a mistake that morning because his mom apparently met him and was staying in the hotel with him. So she loaded his road book for him, and it was just coming apart. And so if you notice up there behind my road book on the Harley, you'll see my horn up there with that pink button on it. Yeah. So with that pink button is my black horn button, and it was rattling around. And so Scott Bird, you know, he's into all that pink stuff. And when that thing was rattling around, I was like, I knew I was going to lose it. It was going to vibrate off. And so he gave me some of that duct tape to wrap on there, his pink duct tape. And so I peeled off some of that pink duct tape, and Alex was able to fix his roll chart and get to the end without getting lost.
Nice.
That's great. That's great. Well, I want to thank you for coming on tonight. I've been looking forward to having you as a guest here for the last couple of weeks. Got to learn a lot about you, and appreciate your stories and all that kind of stuff. You know, I definitely want to have you on again before the next event, just to kind of see where you're at, what you've been doing over the last year. And, you know, hopefully we'll get to see you at one of the events coming up here in the next year. So,
yeah. So Jason, do I send you my address so you guys know where to send me my free banks lift for appearing?
Erik, we got a lot of lag now. We're really breaking up. So.
Hey, thank you guys. I appreciate you a lot.
Thanks.
Thanks, Erik. Thanks for coming on, man. It was great. Great stories.
So, Robbie, what do you think?
I think we just keep having one amazing guest after another here. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, this just shows, I mean, everybody is great. I mean, people keep saying, you know, Cannonball family. Well, it's true. Like, everybody is wonderful. It's just, it's brought so much joy into our lives.
Well, I like that we have finally added some class to this show by bringing you on, Leanne.
Well, I took a shower to come on the show. I did.
And why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I don't want to do it every week, but every once in a while.
Well, it's good. I mean, you have a different insight having to, from behind the scenes and everything. So maybe we'll get to talk about that a little bit more and what goes into putting this thing together.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, we could do
A
that.
lot of work.
That'd be good. So, again, we've had a few orders come in during the show. We're going to pick somebody here right after the show, refund their money back. So hopefully you'll be the lucky one. Again, go check out all the new stuff that we put on the Cannonball web store. You can get through motorcyclecannonball.com, or you can go straight to the website, cannonballstore.com. Check out all the new stuff that we put on there. New stuff coming on weekly. A lot of stuff that you guys have been asking for that we're finally getting on there. So a lot of different options, a lot of different t-shirt color options. Get in there, click on all the different ones, see all the different things. If you don't see anything on there that you want, send us an email. We dig getting any kind of suggestions. So
Yeah, we want to know what you guys like and want.
I didn't get a chance to log on, so I won't get my refund. So,
Nope, sorry.
But hey,
you
guess
guys
what?
kept me busy.
Even if you didn't get a chance tonight and you're watching the show after the fact, we are giving everybody, everybody that if you purchase anything over $100, we're giving you 15% off.
Okay.
Any order, we're giving you a free koozie plus some other stuff that I'm throwing in. I'm just throwing stuff in bags as we're shipping it. So
You're like Santa Claus.
I am. You're never going to know what you get in your package.
He comes out of the shop every day with a new bag of stuff.
Next week you have to have the red hat and the big white beard.
Well, some dude's going to get real lucky because I was eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich the other day and I realized I put it in somebody's package.
Oh, jeez.
So
Want to
look at
thank
the-
our sponsors.
Yeah. Of course, we have really great sponsors that help us out with the show. Of course, the Banks brothers with Banks Motorcycles and Banks Gas Services. The Law Type, Chopper Town, Jim's Motorcycle, of course, Retro Cycle, Sinless Cycles, Rocky Mountain Motorcycle Museum, and of course, all you guys that are watching us every week.
Yeah, we can't do this without you guys out there. So thanks for watching. We really appreciate you tuning in. I see there's a lot of people here week after week, and we really, really appreciate you tuning in and helping this show move forward.
Got a great show next week, so make sure you tune in next Wednesday. Same time, same channels, same everything. You'll get to see all of us, plus whoever else we have on.
And Sunday night, same chopper time, same chopper channel, as they always say.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Shop Talk.
Chris, tell us about Shop Talk and take us out.
Okay. Great show tonight, guys. Continue to amaze me with the guests and the stories. It's fantastic to be a part of this thing. I want to thank everybody for watching, supporting these shows, especially in a time where we need to keep our communities together. Old bikes, new bikes, choppers, whatever you're into, there's a show for you, man. Get involved, be part of it. Shop Talk goes live every Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we do 90 to 120 minutes, all the bullshit we can fit. So if you're digging this, come over there and check it out.
It's a great show. Sunday night, 9 o'clock Eastern, right? 9 o'clock Eastern.
9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Don't forget, Tuesday night.
Coast to coast on two wheels.
Man, and talk about, they've had some incredible guests. They've had some great conversation. Chris Simmons and Michael Lichter head up that show, and that's really, really been a good show, too.
Hey, we had Gail DeMarco watching tonight, who was a guest on one of those shows with her. She did that. They did the Biker Women film together. Gail tuned in tonight. So, Gail, I want to say thank you for tuning in and watching us tonight. That was very nice.
Right on.
All right, guys.
All right.
Good to see you. I hope I see you soon.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Bye.